Yeah.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on. Go.
Okay! Hey guys, welcome to Backwoods Brothers. Man, I am so excited. I'm Tony, and this is...
This is Joel. I'm over here. So as you see, we have a different setup today.
Yeah.
We are trying a new weekly live show where we're just going to kind of go over some hot topics and try to do some different changes and kind of have a whole lot of new spin on stuff. Where we're just up to even yesterday, if a big hot topic came out,
Yeah.
we're going to throw it at each other and just talk about it and see what comes out of it.
You know the cool thing is I've been waiting over 6 months for this to happen. We originally started Backwoods Brothers with this idea in mind, and then we had some cool things happen, some guests, so still check it out, because at the end of the month, we're going to have some guests on, but for the next week, and well, every week, I should say, going forward, except for the last week of the month, we're going to have a 1-hour show talking about, like as Joel said, hot topics. So, man, I actually get to be on with you.
I know, it's just you and I, and we can kind of go over whatever we want. We don't.
Scary.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can change topics all the way throughout this entire thing. So, like yesterday or something, if a big topic came up, I can like spin it up and talk about it. It's not pre-planned months out, like with guests and things, and all those type of things. And we don't go back and forth between like a different. You know, we have one break in the middle because these chairs suck and my butt hurts usually.
Right.
But other than that,
you're gonna learn a lot about us.
Yeah. We're just gonna go back and have a good time, and just like we really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I think that the motto here is Backwoods Brothers, simple and easy, right?
Simple and easy. Also, didn't we say amazing dialogue or authentic dialogue?
Authentic dialogue, hearty conversation.
Hearty conversation, but it's actually backwards.
Yeah,
but check our website.
We're going back to our backwoods roots.
Yep.
So
roots. Are you saying roots?
Yeah.
He's talking about roots.
Roots.
All right. So some of these conversations you're gonna be. I hope you're having in your own living rooms with your own family, your own best friends. Joel happens to be my best friend. So you're gonna just get a look into that a little bit more as we debate some topics. Some of these we might agree on. Some of these we might have a different spin on. But it's all about conversation and creative conversation and cordial conversation. Hope you're going to be still my best friend after this, because I'm going to chew you down.
See, that's the thing. It's a little bit debate, but it's friendly debate. That's the biggest thing about
Who
what
said
we do.
friendly?
It's always friendly.
It is always friendly. He's, one of Joel's main things is love and respect. He always talks about love and respect.
Of
and
course.
learned also loyalty. So it's really good.
Yeah, loyalty is like my top thing. It's
the top.
That's like my biggest thing. Besides, I mean, love and respect is the core center of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, loyalty just comes out of love and respect, and it's loyalty to friends, loyalties to others, loyalty to your word. So
that's it. And my mantra is just getting to know the heart of people. So here we go.
Exactly. So, anyways, you had some topics that you said you're going to blast me down with here, man. So bring it.
You guys, as you know, there's been a lot of gun violence, an escalation of gun violence since 2020 and 2021, and a lot of articles actually attribute the increased gun violence to basically the pandemic we lived through. People have to really re-socialize, is what some magazines, and Time Magazine actually says that. We have
re-socialize?
to re-socialize.
Why don't you define what re-socializing
is? Well, I'm definitely afraid that you're going to ask me re-socializing. So re-socializing is, well, actually, I'll give you basically what it is. It says we are fearful of what the summer is going to look like, says Paul Corello. He's a community violence, and it was community.
Did you
violence.
Really just sing that?
Yeah, I just sung that. Community Violence Initiative Director at the Giffords Law. It says Time Magazine coins this: I am fearful that people are still going to be carrying some of the anger and despair that we've all dealt with this past year. And he continues to quote Time Magazine, and he says, because of the COVID pandemic, we have to literally regain or relearn how to interact through basically human efforts again, and not
I-
resorting to.
I
gun
think our
violence.
interactions were broken when the minute like cell phones came out and Facebook and everything else, because all you see now is people down here, tapping. We barely even look up to. I remember. I mean, I am just as guilty as this.
Mhm.
I'll be sitting in my house at night sometimes, and
Yeah.
I'll be in the other room, and my wife will be in a different room, and I'll, instead of getting up and going and talking to her, I'll text her.
We do the same thing.
I even got as bad as calling her
You call it from the next room.
because I don't want to lean over and open the door. Well, yeah, I'm like
I
the
understand.
epitome of bad at that one. So
Yeah, but,
But-
kind of what you're saying is what though?
is that you say we have to kind of relearn to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think we're broken. We're broken before this even happened, because we rely so much on the technology in front of us to communicate, versus like actually just talking to each other.
But the pandemic also offered other opportunities for people to be isolated.
Oh,
It was
very
forced
much so.
isolation.
Yeah, definitely. They don't get out and talk to each other so much as it is.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just another rung in the ladder.
Yeah,
Would you say?
true. But people listen to information through a vacuum.
True. That the vacuum is definitely an issue there.
Yeah,
I think we saw lots of fallout from the vacuum. So.
absolutely. So one of the articles mentioned that, you know, resocialization is something we need. People are out of work, so they feel like they're shortchanged, they feel controlled, and so you get all of these and social unrest and all of these feelings that people have and not able to express them, so they come out and they express them when they are able to be released.
So it's going to be like a feelings grenade.
Yeah, that tends to be an argument at least. So I actually have some pros and cons because Biden actually, in April 7th, I believe, he was talking about a pandemic of gun violence and what he was going to do or propose to be done about the increased gun violence, because he believes that guns kill people, not people kill people. Is that right?
Well, I mean, tell me this, Tony. Have you ever seen a gun get up off the shelf and shoot somebody?
No, if I have, you probably might want to commit me.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Or there's some poltergeist activity going on.
Right.
Or
Well,
something.
anything's possible, But no, I've never seen a gun actually get up and kill people.
So yeah, so that's the fact is that you say people don't kill people, guns kill people is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Mhm.
Because, honestly, if guns weren't there, you know what they'd be using?
What?
Knives, sticks, swords, rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, the first murder that the Bible records is all the way back in the very beginning of Cain and Abel, and he used a rock. Wasn't the gun there?
Absolutely.
So it comes down to a character issue, not a gun issue. A gun is just a tool, and there's always going to be a tool for that.
Absolutely.
So
Well, then maybe you'll perhaps be interested in the fact that we live very close to Portland, and Portland's seen a rise in gun violence, and some readings from this that I think you're interested in has been in 2020, Oregon reported mass shootings that killed 1 and injured 7.
I want to ask you this one: do they have the stats on how many of those were legally obtained weapons or versus illegally obtained weapons?
No, but they also said that a lot of these mass shootings and gun violence has to do with illegal weapons.
Well, and so that's the big thing is when they make all these extra gun laws, like put a lock on your gun, put have extra background checks, and basically one thing after the other to make this happen. The one thing that they really tend to miss out on there is that they never really talk about on the mass media or anywhere else is the stats of how many of those crimes are actually committed with legal weapons. All they want to talk about
Lupus
all these things
is
you can
hard
do
to
for law-abiding citizens, but the people that are committing those crimes, 99 times out of 100, are not law-abiding citizens. There are people who intentionally are planning to commit a crime.
Right.
So, and by demanding that you have a special lock on your gun and that you keep your ammo separate, that basically strips
While
your
you're
ability.
locked away in your home.
Yeah, that basically strips your ability to defend your home should someone break in with the intent to harm you or your family.
Well, and isn't that why we have the Second Amendment?
Exactly.
The right to defend your home.
Exactly. Well, the Second Amendment was there for
other
the
purposes.
core purpose that they designed that for was in case that the government became too powerful.
Absolutely.
And,
Militia.
and so you had a militia in order to basically retain your freedoms, and that's a very simplified version of that. And I am by no means a scholar of the Constitution, but
Yeah.
you can find that from scholars in about 5 seconds.
Well, speaking of that, don't you have a replica of the Constitution hung up in your office?
Well, it ain't hung up yet, but I actually got a replica of the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and I think it was the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's something else that came with it too, which I don't really care about. I hang up those three for sure in my office.
Why are they so important to you?
Because it's a core foundation of our what our entire country was built on, was that document. It was a different time, and that's a big thing. It was a different time, but the thing is that document still heavily applies today. That's what all our founding freedoms are on, is that they just came from a dictatorial. I don't even know the word there.
Dictatorship.
A dictatorship.
Thank you, George.
Well, I mean, if you dictatorial leader,
Dictatorial works too.
Anyways,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not a
I'm tracking
wordsmith.
you. Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, they just came out of Britain where their taxes were heavy and everything
Yes.
else. Hence is why that when they started to kind of separate themselves out and wanting to have a little more freedoms, because they're like, hey, we don't live over in England, and we're over here, we're doing all this work, and we're getting this new country and stuff. And England's like, hey, give me all your money for the work you're doing, and you guys just do your thing, and we'll take most of the profit out of it. And they said, hey, yeah, you can go fly a kite.
Uh-huh.
And so they almost like occupied America and some of the major cities at the time by sending like 10,000 troops over. And I think with Boston, they had like 10,000 troops in Boston. It was like
Boston?
yeah, I think it was like one troop
Yeah.
for every 4 people is what it was. It was crazy.
Absolutely.
I've been watching a little bit of history lately.
Yeah, you can
Anyways,
tell.
but after a while of kind of going through this, the king decided he was going to repeal all the taxes except for one, and that was on tea, but it was very, very heavy.
Yep.
Hence is where they said,
Party.
yeah, that's not good enough. We want separation from this. This is too much. And so that's where you got the Boston Tea Party.
Yes.
From there, you built your way up, and I'm skipping over a heck of a lot. Eventually, you got enough people that were just so tired of it, they formed the Declaration of Independence. When they penned that out, that they're actually basically signing their death warrant because it was treason at that point, punishable by death. They penned that thing out and sent it to them, but war was pretty much already upon us at that point.
Right.
So, we went through, we fought the whole war there. That's a whole other story. Won our independence. And the Constitution was then formed, and actually, I think the Constitution was formed in 1776 was the
Yeah.
Declaration of Independence, and I
Independence.
forget the exact date. Oh my goodness!
If you guys know it, you know what to do.
Oh, this is bad. I was actually just mentioning it earlier today.
You were talking about this today.
Yeah, I was talking to my boss about it.
Okay.
So I'll see if I can find it.
Well-
It's September 17th, 1787.
1787.
That's what it was. If you guys haven't noticed, we do have computers in front of us because, while there's a lot of things we know, we don't know about everything.
Right.
The Constitution was formed, and basically that's where we set the precedents of our country. But that's after a lot of history and understanding and coming from this already tyrannical type of government over there that was just, basically putting all the pressure to them and trying to force them into compliance and everything. And they said, we don't want that anymore. We want basic human rights, inalienable rights of freedom. And this is what it takes to get there. And they wrote it out of experience, and they wrote it with a lot of thought and some very smart men.
lot of thought.
A lot of thought.
And almost projecting into the future what America would look
Exactly. And they knew that, for the
Yeah.
second, and we're going to talk specifically about the Second Amendment here because there's a lot of, everything has its own discussion to it.
Yeah.
When it came down to the Second Amendment, the purpose they put that in there and why it was a Second Amendment.
Right.
First one was your freedom
Freedom
to
of speech. Mhm.
and you're basically the freedom to express your will and freedom to assemble.
Yes.
Basic freedoms.
Yes.
Talk and assemble.
Mhm.
Okay, so that was like the most important thing to them. The second most important thing was to protect the freedoms that they got. And that's why they said, hey, we want to be able to have our weapons. In this case, they had guns at the time, so we wanted to be able to right to bear arms. And that was to make sure that if that government ever became too powerful again,
Tyrannical.
they can basically be like, no, we're going to rise up and put it back the way it should be, with the power of not in the government's hand, but the power is in the people's hands. Now, the government is there to make sure that the big things are taken care of, like international diplomacy to deal with potential wars and threats, and general services like unemployment, helping the some of the basic social services. But that's the government's there for the basically the minimal amount it takes to make the country run smoothly. And then it was meant to push down the power into the states so that each state could operate almost independently.
Yes.
and have kind of set their own rules.
Are we seeing that now?
In some ways, yes and no.
Okay.
It depends. Some states kind of relay back on the federal, some don't. It varies. And there are certain laws that the federal government put in power there to make sure that there is still some order and stuff like that. But each state actually formed its own constitution, kind of following the same practice of the federal constitution,
Yes.
and allowed them to kind of run internally there. But I think one of the best things they ever did was, like when it comes down to laws, the federal government makes a law, the state can either make something up to the law, or a little more strict if they need to. Same with like county, and then down to, you can't go, well, the federal government said this, but I'm going to go and do what I want. Which there's a million discussions we can have where that's tried, and
Yes.
even recent some issues there.
Yes.
Going into the whole vaccine passport,
Which
thing.
we'll get to.
Yeah, but overall, that's kind of the basis of it, and that's why the Second Amendment is so important. It was the second thought that they had. It was we said we're free. Now we want to protect those freedoms.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of that. So
to protect our freedoms.
yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? If you want to take it back down to home defense, that's still protecting your freedom. You have the right of freedom to not have someone enter your home and try to kill you or steal your stuff. So
But what comes along with some of these freedoms, you have to have some checks and balances with that.
of
You
course,
have to
and
have
there's a sense of
structure to that.
responsibility.
Yeah. So now we get into background checks, and we get into which happens to be a very bipartisan issue.
Well, I believe in background checks. I think background checks are good to a limit. Now, for background checks, if you go to buy a weapon and a background check takes you 6 months, I think they violated your constitutional freedoms. You should be able to go in there. I think a reasonable background check should take maybe 10 days at the most.
Yeah, Joel, I forgot to mention though. You're talking about the Second Amendment. The right and the left have some pros and cons to the Second Amendment. Here's a pro for the Second Amendment
Okay.
that says that. Well, no, actually, it actually looks like a con to me. It says the Second Amendment is not an unlimited right to own guns.
Do I think that somebody should be owning a bazooka? I think if they're like, I think weapons should not be limited but only they should be based upon the bigger the weapon. There should be more kind of checks and balances along the way. But I think there should be no limit.
Right.
Meaning that if you want to own a tank one day, sure, but you're going to be going through a lot more processes to get there.
Right.
But I don't think there should be limits. I mean, the basic rifle, handgun, AR-15, which is basically an AR stands for not an automatic rifle.
Well, that's very interesting you say that, because there's an argument
It's an
that
assault
says
rifle.
it's an assault rifle, which the left would say, no, I'm sorry, the right would say it was put in, the word assault rifle was made to distract from really a, to make, where's it, to make it more, to villainize the rifle.
I mean, you could say either way. Either whether it's assault rifle, whether it's a rifle.
Yeah.
It's a semi-automatic rifle. There's extra things that like bump stocks, or
Right.
maybe if you somehow got a 3-round burst, and some people go through and illegally modify it to make it an automatic.
Right.
But
But a
honestly,
rifle's a hunting device, right?
yeah, it's a hunting device. It can be a home defense device as well.
Sure.
I mean, so it can be a lot of different things. It can go back to that original purpose
Mm-hmm.
of having arms, so that if the government, goes too far, you as a people have the right to rise up and defend ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so that's what the original intent was. Now, a rifle, honestly, a semi-automatic an AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle. That's no different than a rifle that's a hunting rifle, and honestly, it's no different than a semi-automatic pistol. I can pull that trigger as fast on a rifle as I can on a handgun, as I can on a regular rifle that has a automatic ejection ports, and it's basically boom, 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 as fast as you can do it.
Yeah.
And even when I was in the military, I'm trained on these rifles. I hated the
Absolutely.
burst. I hated the automatic.
Why'd you hate it?
Well, because the burst is only for suppressive fire. It's way inaccurate. It's basically throws much ammo down range and get people's heads down.
Gotcha.
But when you're using a semi-automatic, you can actually do much more, basically shots with intent. So I can zero in and just by basically boom, 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 and it's just you kind of get in this little pattern that you go with. And so it's just the way that they train you, but you can still be very accurate and still fire effectively with a semi-automatic rifle as a handgun, as anything else. So their arguments of it being, oh, it's an assault rifle,
Yeah.
versus they're going to try to you can try to argue the same thing against a handgun, but if you go as far as that, you're going to be like you're going too far because we have the right to own those weapons. We have the right to bear arms.
But
So
statistically, an assault rifle has potential to do a lot of more mass damage, as we've seen in mass shootings.
I highly disagree because I can sneak a handgun into a theater much better than a rifle.
But does it have the potential to kill as
very
many people
very
as
much
a
so.
semi-automatic?
Very much so. You can take a 45, you can take a 9mm, a three, basically the same caliber of bullets that a rifle has. You can still have it in a handgun. I mean, I myself own a 45. So, and I basically to boom, 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 drop, put another one in, boom, 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 boom. You can still do the same things you can with a rifle. So the only thing with a rifle is it's meant to go further. And you can get armor piercing and everything else with a rifle and things. Sure, you can get that type of stuff. You might even have them for a pistol. I don't know that much. I'm not an armorer. But the effective ability to fire a pistol is no more effective than they're both semi-automatic. It's as fast as you can pull the trigger and reload.
Right. In one of our videos, if you guys think I'm anti-gun or anti-Second Amendment, you could be nothing further than wrong. You're wrong. I do believe in that. As because I'm visually impaired, I don't shoot one personally, just because that will be a casualty to all of us. But I have friends who go hunting. I have friends who went to hunt for deer when I lived in Alaska for subsistence. So I very much believe in the right to bear arms. I'm also a mental health clinician, and so I also believe that certain people should not have guns because of mental health. And I was talking to your wife, aka my sister, and she was saying actually something very interesting, that it's not a gun issue, it's a mental health issue. Yes and no to me.
I believe if you want to go out and kill an innocent person, yeah, it's a mental health issue. You messed up in the head.
Okay.
So you're trying to tell me a sane person wants to go out and shoot somebody with a gun?
So my only reason, and we're getting off the topic here, but my only reason why I don't want to coin everyone a mental health issue is because it actually frames mental health. And
let me rephrase it.
People who tend to be mentally ill, if you want to say, will tend to hurt themselves rather than go out and hurt someone else.
What if I rephrased it as a character issue?
Absolutely. Or people snap for a number of reasons. Even the healthiest of minds snap. Now, we could argue that's a mental health issue, because if you have a mind, you have mental health. Yeah. So it makes sense that you would say that. But at the same time, I'm really leery about that.
I want to say it's definitely a character issue, really, with what it is, because it comes down to, in the end, you still got to make the choice.
True.
And
the government can't make that choice for you.
Exactly, the government can't make the choice. Everybody's accountable to their own choices.
Right.
So in the end, everybody makes those choices.
Right.
They choose to, in the end, commit that crime. They choose to, whether it's pulling the trigger, they steal the item, or whatever it is. They may have a purpose and a reason behind it, but in the end, they're the ones making the choice to commit that act.
Yeah. Well, another argument for looser gun control is that everyone with a gun, the police can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
At one time, so it puts the power back into.
There's been plenty of stories where someone with a pistol was able to put down a gunman. I mean, there was one.
Yeah, the church one. Remember the church shooting?
And there's been a couple in the mall too. I think I saw one a while back about
our mall.
Not an our mall.
Oh.
Actually, there might have even been one. There was a mall somewhere where there's people started opening fire, and someone on the mall pulled out a concealed weapon and put him down and saved a lot of lives.
Yeah. Well, remember the Texas church? It wasn't the one where the gentleman went in and shot. There's a church in Texas that a gunman came in, sat in the back with a trench coat.
Yep,
you remember that? One of the ushers saw that was something strange going on there, and at the end of the service, this guy in the trench coat stood up and started shooting, and the usher was able to take out his concealed and in that potential.
Yeah, I remember
mass
some
murder.
churches, actually, a lot of churches hired off-duty law enforcement for a period of time after that happened.
Yeah, I'd rather a good guy with a gun than a bad guy.
Exactly. And like I said, and it's not true every time. There are people that legally obtain weapons and still commit crimes, but the statistics show that that amount is dramatically smaller. I don't have the exact numbers for you, and you might even have them, but the crimes committed with an illegal weapon are like, I almost want to say it's like 8 out of every 10. So, and I'm sure I can look those up and get that, but I think it's roughly in that area somewhere.
Well, Joe, why are you trying to find that? And I don't want to like beat this with a dead horse, but one of the arguments that is pro-gun control is more gun control laws would reduce gun deaths.
And that's an absolute hogwash bullshit. Hogwash.
Can you say that?
Hogwash
Bullshit?
bullshit.
Dude, bullshit.
Yeah, it's
Tell me.
bullshit. This is not a PC show. We're gonna say all sorts of
Yes.
cuss words.
Go right ahead.
But
This is
it's
daytime
not-
TV. No,
Exactly. It's bullshit. It's just because you have all that. The only thing I think in some cases it might increase in potential gun deaths, because what's going to happen is you're going to get someone who's following those gun laws, trigger locking their weapon and putting their ammo in another room or whatever that law that they're trying to pass is, and that is that they're going to go to defend themselves, and they're like, oh, because someone's breaking into their house. They're like, oh, I'm gonna break it illegally or whatever. I'm gonna come in and steal
about this.
Yeah. And it could be your wife, it could be your daughter, it could be somebody out there, your mom, your dad, whoever's living in your household that you just lost because you couldn't get to your weapon in time. So when you're thinking about that, it's not just thinking about yourself, it's thinking about the safety of your family.
You know what? I'm loving this so much. I'm gonna bring up some more because I love your reaction. It's
Oh,
bullshit.
it's absolute hogwash bullshit that more gun controls or anything else.
Okay, so let me get back to here's another pro. High capacity magazines, getting back to what we were talking about, should be banned because too often turns murderers into mass murder. Now listen to this quote. It turns killers into killing machines. Chew that up.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. So you can change out a magazine on somebody. This is easy. If you get a 10-round magazine or whatever else. By the way, most people that are going to be doing this stuff are probably still going to get those either way. So they're going to find them online, buy them illegally. They probably may already have them, get them from a family friend, something like that. But anyways, you can pop out a magazine and slap another one and then pop it forward on a rifle, or even if it's a pistol. If you train on it a little bit, it's not that hard to do that fast. And law enforcement can tell you the same thing.
It's the training.
Granted, it is a half a second difference, or maybe a little more, a few seconds difference. We have to change it out.
Don't those matter?
It could if you're under fire, but if the chance of that doing it is so slim.
Yeah.
It's just another attempt at it. It's like saying, hey, we're going to give everybody in the country a free 10 by 10 awning because we want to increase the shade in the country. It's stupid. You're going to spend more money on and destroying the earth by building those awnings than you are going to create the shade. So meaning it's a pointless effort. It's so minuscule. It's not going to change anything in the end. That it's a fruitless effort, and all it's doing is just putting more pressure against people that should have some freedoms.
Dang, I thought I was going to get him tonight. Okay, here's another one. This is in your favor, okay? In your favor. A con to gun control. We talked about this a little bit. Gun control laws give too much power to the government and may result in government tyranny and the government taking away all guns for citizens.
I refer you back to the reason for the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So
here's one more.
okay,
Ready?
and then we're going to go to a break after that.
Okay, can I give you a pro?
Yeah.
Or a pro for. So let me
Okay.
just pick one that will definitely get you more women. This is a pro for more women than men tend to, and I'm going to actually, I forgot, I can't find where it is, but statistic that I read was more women would be under threat because of domestic violence issues. Men tend to result to the quickest way of hurting their loved ones via gun. So
I don't have the stats
gun,
on that,
yeah.
and it very well might be a legit stat. I don't know. I can't really speak to it. I have to look it up.
Yeah.
But I also can think of many stories where women have defended themselves because they had a gun and saved themselves from their attacker.
True. But is it also true that men, statistically, here's another one. Statistically, men would use a weapon of choice to commit I should say not commit suicide, because you don't commit suicide, but
Well,
gun by suicide is typically noted among men more than women.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is we're going to refer back to the tool period. If you have intent to do so on harm, you're going to do so on harm.
Yeah.
Whether if you intend to do yourself harm, you're going to find a way.
You're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Because
You're
many
always
mass
gonna find a
casualty
way.
events have been cars. They've been trucks.
Yeah, there's how many times, how many
You're gonna find a way.
knife issues or bombs or anything else.
Yeah.
Who knows? A gun may cause less damage than if someone was to go run through a crowd in a big truck or something.
Yeah.
If people intent, it all comes back to you. Instead of being a mental health issue, it's a character issue. If that character
Well, it
issue,
can be the and.
if it's broken, yeah, you can add that in
and.
there. But I think it's the biggest thing is a character issue.
So before we close out, then, is there a happy medium somewhere?
Well, we're not really closing it. We're going to break.
I know. Before we close out this segment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a happy medium between the two? I'm going to say that
I'm asking questions, but at the same time, I'm not sharing my opinion yet.
oh yeah, that's fine. We can get to that opinion afterward.
Yeah.
I think the happy medium is I think background checks are good.
Yeah.
I think extended background checks that overly delay it are kind of trampling on our freedoms. I think restricting on something like an AR-15, doesn't make sense. If it's an actual automatic weapon, I think there should be additional background checks and licensure, but you should still be allowed to get them. I think as the weapon progresses in like its category or rating, whatever you might call that, there.
Yeah.
As you get into a higher category or higher threat level,
There
should be more. Now, granted, nuclear bombs, no one should ever get a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, and someone
But you
might say,
mentioned tanks.
well, someone might,
Yeah.
why do you want a tank? What are you going to do with a tank? Okay, like I said, you should be a justifiable reason for why you want a tank.
Yeah.
And what should be something like, oh, I'm a business and I'm going to give someone a chance to go on this perfectly big piece of land that I own and fire a tank. Something like that would be a justifiable reason.
I have to check the mental health first.
Because I'd almost guarantee that there's not going to be a reason to have a tank
Right.
and under the Second Amendment.
Right.
But I mean, and all those things are, I'm sure there's some good debates on both sides, and
Yeah.
they might have a good reason for me to say no to that. But for the basics of a semi-automatic weapon, and the basics of even an automatic weapon, I think those make sense. Things that go boom, things like that are, I guess, a vehicle weapon, those might have some back and forth on there, what they may be, and like I said, there could be some good reasons why not.
Yeah.
So I'm open for debate on those ones, but the weapons and everything else, I believe very much we have the right, and we should be sticking by that. So
My mantra is public safety, but I also believe, and I'm actually talking to my brother about this more because he's more familiar with guns than I am. I didn't grow up around guns, but I'm definitely pro Second Amendment. Everybody has a right to drive. Everybody has a right to drive. Not everybody can drive, but they have the opportunity at least. If
I actually debate
permitted.
that one. Everybody has the right to drive. Driving is a privilege, and you can lose that
Well,
privilege.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You debate that. Yeah, maybe that was not a good analogy to use there.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying by that is, you really can't regulate behavior with one foul swoop.
You actually brought up a good point there, and that is
Yeah.
losing your rights to bear arms and stuff, or losing your right to drive, kind of the same analogy thing.
Yeah.
We should bring that back after the break. That's a good place to start off, don't you think?
Okay.
I'd love to see what you think about that and kind of give me your analogy on that one. So
Great.
okay,
Awesome.
well, let's go ahead and get a break, mainly because these chairs really hurt my butt.
Gosh. Now you know. If you didn't know, you know.
So okay, well,
All
we'll
right.
see you right back after the break, and here in a minute.
Hey, thanks for tuning in.
Very gay. We're back here, guys. So
Did you just say we're gay?
we're back here,
Oh,
guys.
I thought you said. I was wondering because
I don't wanna know
he
what
said okay. Oh, I can't hear.
Okay, we're back
Okay.
here, guys.
Okay. All
No,
right.
I'm just staring at the camera for a second too. So we left and it was a short break, but we left and we were talking about kind of comparing the right to drive versus the right to bear arms, and can you lose that right, and everything else. Well,
Ooh, I got something for you. Then.
yeah, but real quick, let me kind of give you a quick preference on this because I was actually thinking about this earlier today. We were talking, as I mentioned, I was talking about some of this. The right to drive is actually not a constitutionally protected right. It's actually a privilege,
It is a privilege.
and you can lose that privilege.
Yes,
Whereas
that's true.
the right to bear arms is a constitutionally protected privilege, but it also constitutionally allows you, if you commit a felony, to lose that right to own a firearm.
Absolutely.
And
Fair.
I heavily agree with that.
Yes.
No, but I
Consequences.
also agree with that if you commit a non-violent felony, and you have a period of time that you actually you can actually apply to have that restriction removed. So I think there's some good.
When?
Yeah, it's actually a thing. I know some people that you can actually, if you say you committed like I don't know, fraud and you stole
Yes.
$5,000.
Yeah, I still don't get that, and then you get your guns taken away from you.
You get it's basically you get taken away from you. It's kind of a flat lane. It's kind of like a punishment type of thing. That's debatable and arguable and things like that.
It is.
But you can if it's a non-violent crime that you committed.
Yeah.
After so long, if you don't get like a pardon or something,
Yeah.
you can actually apply some form. I think it's a federal thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can actually apply to get that right to own a firearm returned to you. Doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Right.
They'll review it, kind of like I think as a border reviews it and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard about it. I don't know a ton about it. I just know that is a case for non-violent offenders. Now, if you are a violent offender and you committed a felony, you're choosing to give up your gun rights.
So I have a question for you, and I know you're going to ask me about that too. But red flag laws. I actually put something on Facebook about red flag laws on our. By the way, don't forget to look at our Facebook. But
Yeah, and by the way, red flag log. He's talking about the gun laws, of
gun
course.
laws. Yes.
There's also red flag laws with fire.
Oh, that's true.
And even voting,
yes.
I think.
Yes, with guns. And
Yeah.
it basically speaks to if you are, well, in my case, if you know of a loved one who could be a threat to himself and others, you can report that and get that reviewed, and authorities can come out and.
I have a mixed.
Me too.
A mixed feeling about this because the reason why is because it can be easily abused.
That's my whole deal.
Easily abused.
Yes.
And so I think
just like CPS can be easily abused, but yes.
CPS restraining orders.
Restraining orders can be
I've personally seen people weaponize a restraining order against somebody. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. I guess you got to ask yourself, good versus bad. Really comes down to it. If you're seeing more abuse of it, then yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing better good come out of it, then yeah. I mean, I don't have a good answer for that one. That's a hard one because
it's a really hard one.
Yeah, and I don't have a better solution for it either. I mean, I just know that if they can find a way to be more strict on abuse cases, or if you're found to be misreporting it, then it's a felony and 10 years in jail or something like that.
Definitely consequences for false reports.
Oh yeah,
but there have been many mass shootings. I don't say Sandy Hook wasn't one of them, but Florida. What was
in the
it?
movie theater? Right?
Not the Florida school.
The Florida school.
Led to the march.
What is it? I don't remember here. I can look it up. Quick.
Yeah, what was it? It was in Florida. Dylan Roof. No, it wasn't Dylan. It wasn't Dylan. He was.
Or was it in 2018?
Yes.
Let's see. Stoneman Douglas.
Stoneman Douglas High. Yes. So. The gentleman was red flagged. It was reported that he was a danger to himself, but yet he was able to go in and create the atrocities that he did.
Well, here's the other thing too: is it comes back to that is most crimes are committed with illegal weapons. So say you did something and you got red flagged, and if you really wanted to, I'm sure someone in this metro area, you can go find a weapon from somebody and buy them. And
Cuomo wants to cut down on that. Governor Cuomo.
But how you gonna do that though?
Well,
Other than having things like gun violence teams,
yeah.
having law enforcement that focuses specifically on that is probably your best bet.
Yep.
So, because as soon as the Portland, stupidly, which by the way, I say that the Portland leadership, stupidest leadership I've ever seen. The minute you
Tell me what you really think, Joe.
oh yeah, those guys are especially Joanna Hardesty, absolute moron, absolute moron.
I think I hear your wife going.
Yeah, when she's off camera here.
Yeah, you guys. She's like, right on, Joe. Go ahead.
When you remove a gun violence team and you prosecute good officers
Right.
for stuff that, I mean, when they push down a rioter, and I saw the reports and I read on that, and when you're obviously your entire response team quits, you probably are in the wrong there. But when you're removing all these protections, all you're doing is giving the middle finger, saying "F you" to all the people that they're there to protect. One bad officer doesn't make them all bad.
You think that?
So, but one bad or one stupid leader can do damage to all those officers.
Yeah, you think it's a morale issue? After
Oh,
all
it's
that,
damn straight it's a morale issue.
Yes.
I mean, when your own leadership won't back you up, like or if your immediate leadership can't back you up in the department, or the people above them, the city leaders won't back you up because either they're too much of afraid or too scared. So, or they're part of
the crime brigade.
Crime brigade, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they're part of all that, I mean, or they just have a malintent for the city, like Joanna Hardesty. You can see there's no way that someone like that can make those actions and not have malintent, or either she's a complete moron or has malintent.
And this is a volunteer group. They don't really have to work.
Yeah, they can be that, and that's why they'll quit the response team. There's
team.
no more riot squad in Portland.
No,
and they got riots all the time. No one wants to work it. So good luck.
Yeah.
Next time that there's the big riot, well, good luck. I hope you have insurance.
I think they're tired of being injured and battered and and they don't feel like they have.
And when they do their job that they're trained to do within the parameters that they're trained to do it,
you're telling
they get charged with crimes.
Yeah.
So
a little backwards.
Yeah, it's messed up. But
whether it's intentional or not, we don't know.
When she what I was trying to get to earlier, when she removed the gun violence, there was a task force for that. When she removed that, I believe the crimes went up like 900% within like a couple months.
Why did she remove the task force?
They disbanded it.
You're talking about the...
Well, it wasn't this year. It was the city council.
So okay.
Like I said, it's a group of idiots, but she's like leading the charge of Moranesy.
Gotcha.
So
Moranesy.
Moranesy. It's a new word.
That's going to be a new shirt. Moranesy.
Yeah.
That's going to be a new merch shirt. Moranesy, guys.
Yeah.
Your wife laughed again. So.
Yeah. What is that stupid Martian that was on? That was one of the...
Was it Marvin the Martian?
Marvin the Martian.
Do you remember Marvin? He's old.
He used to blow himself up a lot.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
so yes, you're in the wrong.
Oh, she's a coyote and just the stupidest things out there. Never works. Anyways, but yeah, so she leads this charge to get rid of it, and then she has the audacity to go, "Wow, why is there so many gun crimes going on?"
Do you think she's really that clueless?
No, she's an idiot. She meant to do it. I mean, I swear to God, if there wasn't identification for city leaders, she should be put in jail for
Moranesy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be like a stupidity law, you know?
Stupidity law. Moranesy. That's going to be it.
But there were, as you know, a city councilor or a city leader, they're identified by the city or the state, means that if they're making, as long as they're not breaking any laws, and when they make those decisions, they're thought to be making them in the best interest of the people. And so, therefore, they can't be held personally liable for anything that they do.
What's the best interest of having mass crime after you take away law enforcement?
I don't know. It's the best interest of somebody, but it definitely ain't the majority.
Yeah. Can I give you one more con?
Sure.
A con for gun control is more gun control is not needed. Education about guns and gun safety is needed as a prevention tool against accidental gun death as well as other.
Well, you know, by the way, how did we get into just being talking about guns.
Well,
I had like topics put, and you had topics put.
I know. Actually, we're gonna switch to your topic, but I just wanted to give you a con there for yourself. There, gun education. Does that really? Is that really the answer? More education, more.
Well, coming from the cybersecurity side, the best defense against cybersecurity stuff is education and awareness. So I think education and awareness is actually really good at practice to take on anything really. The more people are aware and the more people that are trained, the better things are going to be. Like there are times of people that are untrained with handguns have had their handguns used against them. So I believe heavily and I push heavily that people need to get training.
Do you remember that man who, it was back during social unrest, he was out with his wife defending his home with his wife, and a group of rioters came through the gate, busted the gate.
There's arguments on both sides of that one.
That was a hot topic, though.
Yeah, and the hot topic was they got charged because they pointed their weapons at them, but the people had broke down a gate and were marching up their driveway, shouting things like, "Oh, we're gonna kill you and take your house and live in your house. I'm gonna live in that room. I'm gonna live in that room." And so they pointed their guns at them. But the problem is that
they didn't even handle their guns correctly, though. They were pointing.
Yeah, they well, that's one picture you saw there. You don't know how.
True, it is a snippet. Yeah.
It is a snippet. They could have been holding it right, or they could have been not. Here's holding it like they look like a bunch of rednecks out there with a cigarette in their mouth maybe or something. But yeah, I mean. That's what the media's gonna do too.
Well, of course.
But so I have no idea if they actually had weapons training or not. But the pointing the guns at them, I mean, I should be that if they truly felt that their lives were in danger, they should have a right to point that weapon at them.
Yeah.
Do they have a right to shoot them if there's not an actual threat?
Well,
straight no. But technically, when you point your weapon at somebody,
you better be ready to shoot.
Oh yeah, exactly. If you don't point a weapon unless you're ready to shoot somebody, like I said, if they feel like their lives are in danger, they better be willing to. I get they should have the right to point their weapon at them.
Yeah.
There was, I don't know if it's true, but I saw something that one report said that there was weapons in the crowd. Some people said that there wasn't.
Yeah.
So if there wasn't a weapon in the crowd, it's debatable.
Well,
I mean, that's a hard situation. I'm glad I wasn't have to be like one of those jurors because unless there's more detailed information. In the end, I think they took a plea deal. Yeah. And I thought they got pardoned by the governor.
I think they got pardoned.
They
got pardoned.
Pardoned by the governor.
Yes,
yeah.
they did. Yes, they did. So really, reality is we don't really know. We weren't there.
Exactly.
And so
it's a hard. And the thing is that there's so much misinformation and
absolutely
and everything on the internet, and so it's hard to tell what's what. And the mass media out there, all the different big media groups, they're all worthless as tits on a board. I mean.
Worthless tits on a board. Moronicy. Moronicy. I'm going to take that home with me. Go ahead.
I mean, you saw what CNN did. They got accused of doing fake news and like drumming up stuff against Trump, and that was actually on video. I mean, that was on video.
Bro, that's another show.
But
you gotta save all that for
another. I'm just saying it's not just CNN. I mean, even Fox News, which is supposed to be conservative, I'm sure they do the same thing. They're a media
for the hits and clicks.
Well, here's the thing: is a news media company should be a nonprofit organization. That is where and the reason why it should be nonprofit is because then they're not in it to make money.
Got you.
A news media company should never be a money making deal because what you're going to do in the end is you're going if you're a publicly owned company,
yes,
your loyalty is not to the customers or to the people that you're trying to report to. Your loyalty is to your shareholders, and so therefore, if you can spin something to make a story more exciting, then you're going to do it because it's going to make it like you're going to sell more stories, you get more viewers,
more clicks, more hits. Well,
exactly.
It used to be that the news was just reported as it was.
Exactly, but
not as you want to make it.
If there's a law that I could see going out there and being a good law, is make news media a nonprofit requirement.
Fake news.
You can't be for profit, but I mean, then that gets into the whole infringing on people's rights to make money and et cetera, et cetera.
So I guess we get in this segment because you have something to share. But I was going to say this is going to go on. This is a debate that's going to go until whenever. I saw The Purge last night.
You saw The Purge?
Yes, the Forever Purge. I'm not endorsing the movie, but it was very political.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I just want to say hi to Scott.
Who's Scott?
Scott Kaiser.
Where's
He-
Scott?
Oh, he's commented into Facebook, and I just want to say hi to him. Hey,
Scott! Hey!
Yeah. But anyways, go ahead. You're
but no,
off the lead.
I you know what I was gonna. My main point in that is, I can give a whole nother segment on how I process that movie. I'm actually interested in how other people process that movie. Out of all the Purges I've watched, this one was the most political and overtone.
I've never seen The Purge.
Yeah, it was very intense, but it talked about how. Well, I'm not going to give a spoiler alert, but at the same time, you want to go see it. I'm interested.
You know,
in terms of gun rights,
I picture The Purge is. You ever played like Grand Theft Auto?
never.
Okay,
I'm a good kid.
Grand Theft Auto.
Just
And I think it
just
was
I'm a
Saint,
big kid.
I picture it between Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row.
You played.
In Portland.
Really?
And like Portland riots. Mix all three together. So
That is a hell of a game.
yeah. So in Grand Theft Auto, your point is to kind of steal, make money, buy the crime life, right?
Right.
Second part is, and then Saints Row, they do things like the weapons are like a gigantic purple dildo that they'll beat you with. And then of course the crazy stupidity and
That is
throwing,
true moronicy.
attacking people's lasers down in Portland. So yeah, I just picture all that together, and that's what I picture.
Why play? You just go down to Portland and see it.
Oh, exactly.
In live and color. There you go. With the big,
I don't know.
the big dildo.
If I saw
Okay.
someone running me with a gigantic purple dildo, I'm probably gonna back down.
If you see a gigantic dildo, we're going to talk about mental health issues.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's the same concept as like if you're gonna get in a fight with somebody and you want to be like another guy, you want to get in a fight with another guy, you want to be sure to win.
Beat them down with a dildo.
No, pull your pants down. Guarantee you, most guys are gonna be like, okay, you win.
You win.
You win.
You win. No amount of
You need
gun.
help, man.
I
You
don't
need
care
help.
about a gun.
No.
You win. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be some people out there that I don't know, but they're mad at you enough or something else. But
this debate's going to go on.
yeah,
It's going to go on. It's going
gonna
to
go on.
And it's just interesting. So, you got something for me?
Actually, we got about 5 minutes.
Get
or so.
out of town. What?
Yeah. So yeah, we got really into this one, but it was a great topic and stuff, and we really got to talk about it. And I think people are going to see kind of what we're here for. We didn't get a chance to even get to the other topics.
No. I could have stole it from you.
But we talked
But
about
he took
we talked about the Constitution. We talked about the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
We talked about giant dildos.
Immoronicy.
And moronic leaders.
Moronic leaders.
So,
But I guess when it comes down to it, you cannot. We are about the heart. There's not enough laws out there that could. You brought it up. That could fix our character.
exactly, it's a character issue.
It's a character issue.
You gotta be set out with wanting to do the right thing
Yeah.
and choose to do the right thing. Everything's a choice in life.
Yeah.
Even if someone goes, well, what if someone's holding a gun to your head? You still have the choice.
Yeah.
You have the choice to comply and do what they're saying to you, or choice not to.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to a choice in what you do. And even with people that may have the mental issues, and that one's more of like a gray zone, but there's still a choice.
To have a choice.
And it's a choice to choose what you do.
And I'm glad you said that, though. If you're depressed, you probably shouldn't have a gun close by, because I wouldn't want you to use it on yourself or others.
But the thing is,
Clinically, I should say.
yeah, but clinically depressed. But here's the thing: is what's the hard line scale? What do you draw the line at? For what?
That's really hard
Because you might diagnose somebody with clinical depression, but the next counselor down the road might not, or you might not, and the next person down the road might diagnose somebody with clinical depression. Where's that hard line? It's a fuzzy gray line to choose what's there, and it's based upon your best experience and your training,
or history.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pieces in there, and it's a hard line to draw to use that, and so I get the benefit of it. But
because everyone that has
and
suicidal
it's a
ideation,
question, and I'm not saying one way or the other on it. I'm just saying I'm glad I don't have to make that.
I'm glad I don't either. But you brought up a really good point. Everybody that has suicidal ideation will not go out and be a mass murderer.
Exactly. And someone who has suicidal ideation today may have a single thought of it they happen to mention, but they may be
How many
fine.
times have we thought that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
not diminishing.
and I'm sure that there's a whole lot of homicidal people coming right around April 15th every year.
Tax time?
That's tax time.
I was waiting tax time. I was like, how did tax time get into this? Yeah. Some of us who do our taxes.
Yeah.
I won't talk about that one.
Yeah.
Not revealing.
Dude, I have a friend who makes a large sum of money, and I can tell you his tax bill when he has to pay every year makes me cry.
I bet.
So
I bet.
I can't imagine if I had to pay that much money in taxes every single year.
But hey, Joel, real fast though, can you just? I know we don't have a lot of time, but can you bring up the topic that you were going to bring up just a little bit because it is a hot topic.
Well, the hot topic, I had a couple of them I was going to bring up. One of them was going to be about the fireworks thing that we banned this year and talk a little bit about that and some of the responses to it.
Oh, I would love that. Can we save that for next week?
We can definitely set that for next week, and that's a
But
big
what
thing.
about the Delta?
You know what?
The Delta, the virus, the Delta COVID-19 virus, the new one.
You're talking about when Oregon opened up.
Yes, but the one that I think you.
Well,
found some
you're talking about
information-
the Delta variant.
It's Delta variant. Yes.
Yeah, Delta variant. Yeah. Also, we're going to talk about Oregon opening up and the reliefs and the changes and the recovery piece. And just kind of talk a little bit about that. But there is a Delta variant that is coming up. That's I think it's in every state now, and there's been some saying that.
If you're not vaccinated, then you are more likely to.
Yeah, I
encounter
mean,
it.
think of it like the flu thing. There's not enough information out there for me to really talk too much onto
It's
it.
kind of connected to
I do
the
know that
SARS, is what they were
I
saying.
do know that they're supposedly went backwards in California. So
Is that true?
yeah, they reinstituted the distance and mask mandates down in California.
I thought that was just a rumor.
Last I heard, it was reinstituted, but I mean, it could be. I mean, I saw it in a couple of news articles. So,
Yeah.
but I will admit, I didn't dive into them to make sure that they were accurate.
Yeah.
I get news articles every day on my phone, constantly coming through. I see
Got
them,
you.
and sometimes I read it, and I read the first kind of paragraph or so of it, and I'm like, oh, and then I saw that, I'm like, oh, so maybe it is true, but
Yeah.
and that's also why I didn't talk too much on the Delta variants. I don't know that information too well. I just know I want to talk more about Oregon opening up again and the big changes there.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to go there. I did have some information on that one, but I won't reveal it
Yeah,
right now.
let's bring it up next week. I mean,
Okay.
and unless something bigger comes up. So
Sweet.
But we were talking about taxes, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking.
See how I dove off
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
subject real fast?
I want to come back to the tax thing
Yeah.
because in order to pay the taxes, you got to be able to make money, right?
Right.
And which is something that we try to do by selling merchandise.
True. So we do have to push the merchandise here, the merch right here.
So
Yeah.
we can do. We have different mugs and things that are on there. Really nice
Which one
mugs.
does that say?
It says conversation is food for the soul. Which, by the way, I feel great talking tonight.
You know what?
I'm a little hot and sweaty because it is kind of hot in here. But other than that, it's been a great conversation tonight.
Dude,
Man.
it was so awesome. Like, you could tell he was getting excited.
Oh yeah.
The other
totally.
thing, hey, you got to check out this hat. Like, Brandy made it.
Yeah. Well, when she designed it, she technically
Yeah,
didn't make
she's
it.
one of the Backwoods wives, and she does Backwoods Minutes, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
But this one, BB, for Backwoods Brothers, or Bosom Buddies, or what do you want to say there?
What did you really have to get someone else to say with the BB? So.
Where is there another one? There's a
Yeah,
shirt.
the
Where's
shirt, the shirt's off
it's
camera. Don't worry about
off
it.
camera. Okay.
There's lots of different things that we do have. So
Yeah.
they can find it by going to backwoodsbrothers.com
Yes.
and looking under the store.
Yes.
There's different things to look at there. And Brandy's adding and taking things away, and things are changing. So it's if they like something, they definitely want to check it out because they may not be there this week, next week. They could come and go. He's taking things off, putting new things on.
Yeah.
And so we want to keep it fresh.
And we're constantly growing, right? So
Yeah.
in that, it takes funds to do that. So please share,
Exactly.
like, and subscribe. And
Exactly.
I'm serious about that. Like, share, like, and subscribe. If this topic is not necessarily your cup of tea, we're going to have a lot because this world is changing so fast. So we'll have a lot of topics that just might spark a little nerve in you. But if you want to hear more about us and learn a lot more about our team, Backwoods Wives, Backwoods Brothers, our Backwoods Minutes, then you will definitely want to tune in.
Let's take 5 seconds to talk about it. So we have a live weekly show now.
Yes.
Every week, Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about what the hot topics are, just you and I.
Yes.
Except for one time a month, we're going to try to have a guest on.
Yes.
So, and that's just going to be, if it works out, we're going to bring the guest in. That's what the plan is. Okay? And sometimes we'll try to have a theme that we're going to talk about during that time.
Yes.
I think this theme this month, we're trying to get some law enforcement and some
Yeah.
first responders in.
Speaking of that, can I just say this?
Yeah.
ECW, I'm just going to plug it right here.
Go for it.
Escated Community Watch is having a honor hour community law
First
enforcement
responders.
first responders, right?
Mhm.
On the 17th, you're going to want to be there if you're local.
Yes.
If you have to come from Malala, just come from Malala. Just join us all, okay?
Yeah, if you have to come from Texas or New
Texas,
York
fly
or,
up here.
or Mars, it's okay. Just come on in.
Well, there are some UFOs coming, but we'll talk about that later.
I'll
That's another
I'll
show.
plug in that.
Okay.
So, we have those, and then we have the Backwoods Minutes, which come out every 5 days. First one released on the 3rd, next one's on the 8th, which is tomorrow, and then the 13th, and then the 18th, and so on.
Yes.
So every 5 days there'll be a new one coming out, and it's just a really short, minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It depends on everyone's a little different in length, and they're just a positive message.
Yes. I love the messages because the first one was on, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and yours was
Mine was talking about a quote from Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
And
My mom used to love quotes from him.
Oh yeah, and it was saying, I don't remember the quote at the top of my head. Oh, why'd you put me on the spot?
That's okay. You know what? They have to watch it.
Yeah, watch it.
Isn't it? When is it going to be?
I don't want to spoil them.
Okay. Yeah.
It comes out tomorrow.
It comes out tomorrow.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Backwoods Minute. Joel, you want to?
And the last one is Backwoods Wise.
Yep.
Which we're still kind of locking in. We wanted to release it last month on the 25th. We advertised. We were ready for it. But then we decided we wanted to lock in a little bit more, make some changes, and so we're going to try to start releasing those twice a month. We don't have a solid date yet, and they'll come. But as soon as we have them, maybe next week we'll have it solid, and we'll start releasing them twice a month. And the gist of it is basically where we got your wife, and my wife.
Yeah.
They basically,
the best of
yes, yep. And so they're just sitting here on camera, and we're trying different ways to do it. So you might see some changes as you go over the first few shows, kind of like what we did. And they're kind of just responding to videos, whether it's our videos or other videos that we showed them, and they're just kind of responding and giving them some good funny comments and just having a fun time with it. And it's kind of fun to watch.
I heard it's like a laugh fest. That's what I heard.
Oh yeah,
you will be laughing.
All I have to say is don't lose your cookies.
You're gonna have to figure out what cookies we're talking about. It's not a dildo.
Yeah. Why did you put cookies and dildo in the same sentence?
I don't know, but you better end this show before I get in trouble.
Okay, guys. So, we'll see you next week, 7 o'clock on Wednesday. And until then, start a conversation.